just to include our panelists in the studio here, just media reports saying that, of course, in the report was the cozy relationship or friendship between Brian Molefe and one of the Gupta brothers. It goes on to say that there were 829 times, or rather Eskom appears 829 times, and the fact that Molefe and AJ have been seen publicly exchanging and calls made over a period of 8 months, that legally having a cozy relationship, so to speak, is there something that the court would then conclude that there is some corrupt relationship happening?
This is so laughable. You know, it's really laughable. Golf days, people walk up and down with everyone in a golf day. And how is that different from what Brian has done? Brian runs businesses, he runs Transnet, he's running Eskom. Brian has got a duty and the responsibility to speak to everyone, politicians and other business people. They can, in fact, I think it's something that Brian should take up, that this report is impugning his integrity. You can't, on the basis of meeting people, be deemed to have been having a corrupt activity. Based on what?
But Mzwanele, just to come in here, you know, I've got a diplomatic career background. And I have served this country for 13 years, continuously in 4 different countries. It is well in the nature of doing business, establishing working relationships, to can meet people that you think they may serve the best interest of the country. Whether the meetings between Brian Molefe and the Gupta's family or Ajay or whoever were not serving the best interest of the country, that should be left to be investigated, and evidence should be provided on the table which will say the relationship or the engagements. There's a difference between to have an engagement with a person and a relationship with a person, whether it was malicious, whether it was not for the best interest of the state. But also, we have a situation in this country, prior 1994, where the head of state, the former President Nelson Mandela, and others engaged with business, engaged with the Ackermans, with the Ruperts, and everybody else in trying to govern the country for the best interest of everybody. Business, the poor people, and international relations as well. Now, we cannot sit here and say just because Brian Molefe, who has a very bright career behind him, because he was engaging other people, why are they mentioning one family? If this report was genuine, they should be able to tell us as a nation, who did Brian Molefe meet across the board, not just he met one person.
Yeah. Because it's not illegal to know rich people, unless, you know, South African politics has led us to assume it's now illegal to meet eminent and prominent South Africans. I believe, Cindy, if the Gupta family was a white family in this country, we wouldn't be having the struggles that we're having today. The likes of Trevor Manuel got married at the Rupert's farm. That did not make the headlines. You know, Absa Capital is run by his wife. That doesn't make the headlines in this country. You could befriend rich people and walk with them at golf days, at events. That does not cut it. But particularly because this family is related, you know, by view of aspersions to corruption with the president. We're invited to many, you know, prominent persons' houses. Then this report truly perhaps should have titled the Zuma capture and not the state capture, because that makes, you know, that makes people believe we're discussing the country as captured. People are tweeting and saying South Africa is for sale and South Africa has been taken by a particular family. Where has this family taken us? Because South Africans are still the same South Africans they were. Yeah,
but I mean, can the report then be regarded as final, particularly because it really makes more observations than what it does findings?
Yeah, I think it's a misnomer to call it final. As it were. Indeed, it is not final. And maybe to the earlier points that my colleagues have been talking about here, the Gupta family, as things stand right now, have not been found guilty by any court of law, as it were. Therefore, to positive view that says meeting them is in itself a problem is problematic. In fact, it's eroding constitutional rights of people, where our constitution says people must be presumed innocent until proven guilty. Why is it that this Gupta family is presumed guilty? Even banks' accounts are closed. Yet we've got people who have been pronounced guilty, for criminals that have got guilty verdicts. We've got corporates that have even been fined for their corrupt behavior, but those corporates still are running bank accounts, nothing has happened to them. Why have we decided to presume people guilty when they're not?
And I mean the damage, reputational damage that the report potentially can do to people who are implicated based again on newspaper reports. Just the introduction of the Public Protector's report gives you the complainants in that particular
Out of
order.
40 ministers.
Look,
You know?
Cindy,
The complainants that wrote the
there's
state
damage.
capture report initially, that it was based on media reports of supposed state capture, and that's where this whole thing
That is basically
originates from.
what was wrong, and our people are not being told the truth. What actioned this commission of inquiry? If we recall, if we go back, before the public protector recommended the commission of inquiry, opposition parties, EFF was in the forefront, they blatantly refused and opposed that a commission of inquiry should be formed with regard to state capture. They refused. Now they are welcoming it. What happened between 2014 and today when they are welcoming it, we don't know what is it. But you asked something very crucial earlier on to say, can we investigate as a nation? And let's leave Thuli Madonsela and the Guptas out of this. As a nation, can we look at atrocities, criminal and economic activities of companies that operated in South Africa before 94 and today? Yes, we can. It is not true that the previous public protector could not do that, because in 2012, it is on record. You can go to the website of the Office of the Public Protector, where Thuli Madonsela had said the report is on his table, she's lacking funds, but she will look into it. It does not mean, because what the apartheid era companies benefited during apartheid, they continue to benefit until today. If you look at ABSA, if you look at FNB and all these other companies, they are continuing to benefit today from what they illegally
But
inherited.
we know that we require political will for policy and all of those things to change. I just want to keep it on today's report and maybe examine the fallout politically that this report will create.
Here's my thing. I'm wondering why from the political parties, Fakey Mento wasn't mentioned today. Because she possibly should be charged with her wanting to change her statement. All of a sudden, and because the media in this country forgets very quickly that those things that they wish to forget anyway, and remember those that they wish to remember. Miss Mentor's highlight from yesterday was very easily forgotten. But people are saying, let's save South Africa. And that's a good thing if we know what we're saving South Africa from. But we have Mr. Sipho Pichanendi sitting there comfortably in the church, and the aircon is on, and they're making wonderful speeches with good funding. And these are the people, the beneficiaries of white monopoly capital. But the young people in red T-shirts are out there in the sun protesting about something they don't know about. So whilst the dialect has not been agreed on in South Africa, the ones that are throwing the stones assume that there's guilt because they don't understand politics. They don't understand how the economy of this country is run. But the beneficiaries of this economy are the ones calling affluent white people and people who have broken away from the ANC, who have parties that are falling and struggling, and they all sit together to say, let us save South Africa.
You ask about political will.
In fact, I think this proper state capture should include investigating Thuli herself for being captured. Why is it that this report all of a sudden was parachuted to overtake all other priorities that were in the Public Protector's office? Why is it that because the DA and the EFF have now reported this thing, all of a sudden all the cases that were there took a backseat? Why do this case, why does the report, because it's the DA request, all of a sudden enjoys a priority over other people that have got also constitutional rights, as it were? So indeed, Thuli must be investigated herself for possibly having been captured, as it were.
Cases of the indigent have been neglected. Let's be frank.
I think that's the bigger debate to have. But from what we have in front of us,
you ask a question about political
You're out of
will.
order today. Is it
the gentleman didn't answer you. You asked a question about political will, and that's what I wanted to respond on. You see, there's one thing about the EFF and DA. Whether they are right or wrong, it's immaterial. They've got a driven political will to prove that the African National Congress is not governing properly, and they're pushing it, without doubt. The political will to make sure that we have an entire and a complete investigation into the state capture it must come from the ruling party. They have the majority in parliament. They must rise and say, we have a report with damning allegations against our leader and the head of state, which implicates only our ministers and MPs. Therefore, as the African National Congress MPs, we rise and we say, can we have a complete investigation to the entire capture of the state? There must be a political will. Without that, this report or these allegations and recommendation will not hold water.
All right, let's get Gert's reaction from the ESCOM, the Tegeta issue. Gert, if you just, based on the report saying that it seems and it appears that there was undue pressure on Glencore and also the rehabilitation fund in terms of the trajectory and the movement of the money. Can you just give us a sense of what you take out of this report?
You must take cognizance of the fact that the bundle we received today is 99.9% evidence gathered by the public protector. Without taking cognizance of those implicated, if you read that report, you will find that not one of the Gupta brothers was called by way of subpoena to give their version. There was a subpoena for one of the Oak Bay directors. That was cancelled before he got the opportunity to speak one single word. So the best case scenario for a charge against Oak Bay or Tegeta or the Guptas, you'll find in that bundle. But what you won't find in that bundle is their defense and their response thereto. And I think it's unfair to portray that report as a report of a balanced version. That's not what it is. That is only the bundle the judge will look at to determine who must answer thereto. And that is the version that the Guptas and Oak Bay will give when they have that opportunity.
And so is that a missed opportunity again? I don't want to suggest that there are red flags or there is suspicion around the validity of the report. But if there's already evidence lacking, we know that procedurally the complainants were saying that they weren't given adequate time to respond to questions. This doesn't really bode well for the Office of the Public Protector or former.
Not at all. It makes the report or the bundle of the collaboration of stories null and void. In the first place, the president, according to the Public Protectors Act, was given the right of reply, the right to interview the complainants, the witnesses. He did not exercise that right. And so from the very beginning, it was wrong to want to push the report through without him having interviewed it. If Mr. Van Rooyen comes and he says, I have not had enough time to go through the processes. I want to internalize this. You can't desire to push a report through when the very people that you're supposedly investigating are unhappy. It's going to make that report null and void. When that report is released, you might have a litigation challenge after this. And so the story always comes back, Cindy, to why did Thuli want to have that report out on her last day? And it must have been her. She wanted to do it herself. She did not want to hand it over. And so South Africans are asking why. What is the burden?
But Steve, we have an advantage now. This is the beauty of democracy and following institutional processes. Now we are sitting in a situation whereby an independent commission of inquiry will be set. All those people who I went through the report. There is 10 affidavits, 10 pages of the report. It's affidavits and inputs from people who were interviewed. Now they will come forth in front of a judge, selected by the Chief Justice. They will be questioned in front of the public. It will be live. It will not be in secret corners. Now the nation will hear and see the truth behind this whole thing that was done harshly, that was done secretly, that in my view and opinion, it's very malicious. It was rushed. We didn't have money as a nation in the Public Protector's Office to investigate bigger cases like this one. This case, in my view, is bigger than any other case that was ever filed in the Office of the Public Protector. We said we didn't have money. But we rushed, and look at what rushing does to us as a nation. This week only, we have had 6 withdrawals and of cases in court because of rushing and not following proper institutional processes as prescribed by the laws of this country. And that's the problem we are sitting with. But now, I'm happy the commission is coming. An independent judge selected by a trusted and tested Chief Justice will come and head this commission.
And those witnesses obviously would be subpoenaed. They don't have the option of retracting statements, as we saw with a mentor saying that she would have deposed differently. You know, she feared intimidation.
That is if this report goes through, we must remember that there are so many avenues of review of this report. I mean, like the constitutional judge was pointing out, the fact that Thuli has been prescribing to everyone, including to the judge, to say, as you give to the president, give you. I mean, really now, she's prescribing everybody left. She's actually ruling from the grave. She must be sitting there smiling now and saying she's the puppet master and everybody is dancing to her music. How can you do a thing like this? So there are so many grounds to review this report. So I would be saying to South Africa, let's not think that this might happen. Let's allow the process to flow. Let's allow rule of law. Let's see if this thing will pass the constitutional muster, because it might very well be scrapped, given its procedural flaws that it has, given all the wrong things that this report seems to have, or rather not this collation of issues, not even a report, this thing. This is just a collation of complaints, as it were. So let's see if these complaints will actually stand the test of time in the review process.
All right, Gert, just from the Oak Bay group, I guess, giving a sense of confidence. Number one, that the business dealings are above board, and dealing with the suspicion of irregularity, maladministration, and a preferential treatment with the awarding of contracts in state-owned entities. How do you encourage a sense of confidence in the market and to society?
Well, Cindy, let me tell you this. There's no other group of companies in this country under more scrutiny than my client. So if anybody is doing business with us, you must rest assured it's been checked 10 times. It's as clean as it gets. Now that I have the opportunity to prove that, I'll do that in the application in the High Court, and I'll do it in front of this judge. I'm glad that I have that opportunity.
Mr. Omar, the constitutionality of the fact that when somebody makes an adverse allegation against you, that it would be based on media reports, hearsay, recommendations, and then you sit with the obligation of having to defend yourself through another process. I mean, have we considered what impact this has on the respondents in this case?
Making a recommendation that has the force of a court order based on hearsay evidence is itself a reviewable irregularity which is arbitrary and irrational. That will be one of the many grounds for review. Cindy, what is very, very important is the question, why was load shedding stopped by Eskom? What was the primary reason for load shedding in the first place? Why Eskom had insufficient funds before load shedding to upkeep the infrastructure of electricity in the country? The answer is simple. Eskom was paying to Glencore 3 or 4 times more for a ton of coal than Eskom has been paying to Oak Bay or a company controlled by the Gupta brothers. The Gupta brothers, or the Gupta controlled company, Ms. Thuli Madonsela should know this, has been supplying coal for 3 times less the price. This whole saga, this whole accusation stems from the fear of white capital monopoly, that the monopoly of the resources will now be shifted to others. The Guptas have done nothing wrong. They've been subject to enormous scrutiny, but the one gesture of gratitude expressed by all South Africans is thank you for averting further load shedding. That issue is not covered at all. And then a court of law is not an entertainment center. Today it was seen that after an order was made by consent, I want to emphasize by consent, we saw a celebration and a partying. The court clearly was abused for the attainment of a political agenda. It was not used to attain justice and to advance the interests of the South African public. This is an issue that must be scrutinized. And then where is Thuli Madonsela now? She's in the bastion of the DA territory, the Western Cape, in Stellenbosch. This, taken together with the haste in which this report was done, merits an investigation into Thuli Madonsela. But the time has now arrived for rules of procedure to be evolved by the public protector for itself. And rules of ethics are crucial. Thuli Madonsela's repeated interviews and accolade bestowed upon her by the previously privileged whites must not be repeated by the current public protector.
All right,
so there
Mr.
is
Omar.
much to have learned from what has unfolded.
All right, we have to take a comfy break and continue.